Through analysis of the current trends, opportunities, and threats, we have considered the ACN's current objectives, examined the operations of the organisation, and have completed a situational analysis. From our findings, we have identified a key opportunity as being the use for technological advancement to aid services, as well as the entry into the employment services industry. Key threats of success for these opportunities would be the impact of COVID-19 as well as sufficient funding. A key concern raised by the ACM was the fear that individuals with autism will have trouble finding jobs due to the lack of awareness and education within the community. Through the utilisation of Blue Ocean strategy, the recommendation of employment assistance in the form of an employment event as well as additional services to assist individuals to get a job from start to finish is raised. The ACM will utilise its partnerships with local RSL clubs as a means of hosting a monthly careers night. This night will aim to bring in potential employers from the local community, raise awareness for the issue, and generate discussion. Tactics such as social media campaigning, email marketing, and flyers will be utilised as a means of advertising for the event, as they are seen as the most cost-effective options. By offering individuals with autism this service, the ACM will generate a competitive advantage over organisations not offering employment assistance of this nature. A form of revenue raising for the ACM from the event will be offering paid sponsorships for businesses to be affiliated with the event as it's for a good cause. Free food and drink on the night will work as an incentive to bring employers in. As an extension of the event, a talent pool mechanism will also be set up on the ACM website. This will allow for potential employers to access resumes of candidates 24/7 and get in contact directly. Another extension of the service will be holding workshops for resume building and job interview techniques. These will be held by professionals in the field and will help better prepare the members looking for a job. We hope that through this service to generate significant growth in membership numbers as well as brand awareness to ultimately put the ACN in a better position to receive government funding and NDIS support. Advantages of this recommendation have already been discussed, however there are also threats that may hinder the effectiveness of it. These include the current lack of awareness and education in the community on this issue, which may ultimately cause for reluctance amongst employees to have these individuals in their workplace until properly educated. Another threat which may hinder the delivery of this recommendation is the risk of COVID-19 impacting the ability for face-to-face events to be held. COVID-19 also has ultimately caused for an employment deficit nationwide, with many individuals of all backgrounds looking for employment and employers not being in the position to financially provide jobs. This may cause for challenges when trying to connect individuals who are using the service with jobs. The Blue Ocean strategy of the strategy canvas as is was used to highlight areas in which the ACM was lacking in comparison to current industry standards.
Our second Blue Ocean strategy recommendation is to introduce virtual reality. In order to do this, we have to develop a VR app by outsourcing it and getting someone to to create it for us. So the reason for this is to, instead of using like existing platforms, is to make it a more customizable and to make sure that it fits our target audience. Within the app, it should be there should be two things that is like 100% necessary. So it should have simulations that are created based on certain scenarios, and it should also be able to hold virtual meetings. Virtual reality can also be used as a gimmick in pop-up booths. For example, in like shopping mall, where you would have seen, like especially pre-COVID, there used to be a lot of virtual reality companies charging people to get an experience. Obviously, ACN won't charge, but it would be really beneficial if they set up these booths. So advantages and disadvantages. So obviously it's really accessible, just like Zoom and other virtual communication platforms, as long as you have internet access and a device, and a phone device, or like a headset, then you'll be all good. Another advantage is that the simulations will allow autistic people to experience certain scenarios which they usually have difficulty dealing with. So this allows them to have like a practice before and know what to do when it actually happens in real life. Another interesting thing, a way of using the simulation, is that ACN can actually give it to like people who are not autistic, and so they can actually get that experience, so they can step in their shoes and experience what it is to be like an autistic person, which will obviously raise awareness and hopefully create a better understanding and acceptance within the community. Another advantage is that virtual reality is pretty much the most lifelike experience you can get without being like physically present. So obviously Zoom is great, but there's like ACN also highlighted that it's not really that effective because people are not that intrigued and interested in participating. Another thing is that virtual reality, you can be anonymous, so you can obviously when you sign up you need your actual details and stuff, but when you go into a virtual reality world like or simulation, you don't have to be yourself. You can be anyone, you can have a different name, like obviously you can even be like a cat, a raccoon, whatever you want. However, it does have its downsides. So one of the most obvious ones would be that it can be quite pricey. So that being said, it actually is a really optional thing. So if the consumer wants to go for quality, then obviously it will be a bit pricey. It can go up to like 600 or even like more for like professional ones. However, that being said, it can actually be quite cheap. So if you ever heard of Google Cardboard, it's actually just like a piece of cardboard that covers up your eyes, and then you put your phone in there. Then you can also get that experience. So that is like 15-20 bucks. So it's not necessarily 100% like really expensive, as long as you're willing to compromise a bit. Another disadvantage is that it does require a certain level of technological knowledge and skills. So they have to at least know how to access the internet and then how to use the app, which these can all be taught through like tutorials, classes, or like just videos. Another thing is that users cannot use virtual reality for too long because it does strain your eyes and it's not too great for your eyes. But that same applies to like just staring at a blue screen. Anything for too long, it won't be good for your eyes anyway. So, however, the effectiveness and the efficiency of it should more than enough cover this disadvantage. Another thing is that it can be quite costly to run. So obviously ACN would have to buy some headsets, which is a one-off thing, but it does cost money to maintenance it and also subscriptions. So professional VR headsets do normally come with subscriptions that you need to pay. So usually it's around like $180 per year. So in order to use their headset and their technology. So it comes to bioutility. So over here, this bioutility graph shows like the pain points that ACN currently has. So these would be points that might prevent customers from using their services. So the first one would be the risk of confrontation when you're purchasing their services. So this might be like if someone recently got diagnosed and that they were on the spectrum and they wanted help, it might be quite confronting for them to sign up for ACN. Another thing is that most of the stuff ACN does, it does require physical presence. So it normally does require face-to-face interactions. It's only until COVID that they moved a lot of stuff on Zoom. But that being said, even on Zoom, it actually ACN's activities are still restricted to physical possibilities. So as much you can only do as much as you can. Like there's not much else you can do, and it's really hard to keep it entertaining. However, with our two strategies, it actually counters the pain points and add more utility points. So VR effectively counters all the pain points. So the risk of confrontation would be solved by the ability to be anonymous. The physical presence obviously will be solved by you can access it anywhere, and just wherever you want, and that would be just it will be way more accessible. The other thing is that it can also be a way more interactive and interesting. So you can do a lot more than just what you can do physically. So you can become as I said, become a cat and a raccoon, and then run around with your friends in the virtual reality world. When it comes to Careers Night, it actually adds a bit more utility points. So obviously, it's quite easy to register. So you just sign up and then you just go there every first Saturday of the month to be able to join the event. Another thing is that the main thing is that it actually does encourage customer productivity. So obviously, the most productive one can be is to actually find a job. But even if they don't end up with a job, they would still get the experience of talking to the HR people and just with everyone else.
The strategy canvas as is was measured based off attributes such as online presence, low cost, use of technology to provide a service, ease of access, employment assistance, and several others. Notable findings in this as-is canvas were that the ACN's online presence was low in comparison to other organisations in the industry. This calls on a need for an online platform and better use of social media marketing to raise awareness for autism and the brand. As the ACN's low cost factor is more prominent in their services than that of their competitors, there could be an opportunity to change the business model to attract more revenue through reduction of free of charge services. The ACN can also be seen to lack the use of technology to provide its services. Although this factor may not seem necessary to the current business model, it could assist in enhancing their level of service. There is also a clear gap in the market for employment services, as both the ACN and their competitors are currently not offering them. Through the implementation of the recommendation and Blue Ocean strategy, the ACN can be seen to operate above industry standards in most aspects. Through the use of virtual reality, you can see that the aspect of technology used to provide a service has increased. Through the recognition of the Blue Ocean opportunity and by acting on it for employment services, the ACN has increased this aspect as well as its ease of access to services and workshops. This was done through the talent pool mechanism and through the resume building interview technique workshops.
For action framework, this marketing tool is used to reconstruct buyer value elements by recognizing what factors should be eliminated, reduce, wise, and create. The below table is established for action framework on the basis of marketing survey and other marketing data. This factor is essential for ACN to maximize costs while provide unique values to customers. In this case, we suggest that eliminating resource wasting due to the budget is so limited and reducing spending on delivery. Try to access material from local suppliers as possible, and increasing cooperation with other organizations, such as sharing resources, running events, and inviting other spokesmen to reduce purchase on funder, and inviting support from international organizations. In the create session, running multiple online events for members assess the barriers of distance and offering customized service that will increase income and providing more choice for members. For case of the supply chain, in order for both to work sustainably and effectively, a steady supply chain is required to ensure that these services are available to be used when required. Virtual reality is one of the program we recommend. To support the use of VR or reliable supply chains play an essential role to ensure that both can run constantly and efficiently. In this both strategy, VR equipment and IT service are necessity, and since ACN is not able to directly gain financial support from the NDIS, ACN will have to use part of their budget to purchase VR devices from the provider for business use. Additionally, ACN would have to become an alliance with VR providers in order to get discount price for ACN's members, and in turn provide them with publicity, as ACN is a nationwide community with respectable number of members. Group buying can also be an alternative to obtain bulk buying prices. IT service can be outsourced to ING technology companies because they often offer free of charge IT service for non-profitable organizations as a goodwill gesture. And for the career night, ACN can be an intermediate between employers and people with autism. In fact, a lot of companies believe that autistic people can contribute to business while some might not even know their current employees might be a spectrum. So with the wide angle, ACN should be able to benefit by simply pointing out the fact to them and convenience them to give autistic people a chance. Ultimately, ACN should create a platform for the two parties to link together. This could be done by inviting people from the HR department of any business to attend event and at very least left with better understanding of autism, if not provide them with an opportunity for interview. And as a result, with this coming at no cost to the business, it should be relatively easy to convince to attend and hence secure a sole source of employment opportunities. For the forecast of demand, the demand with autism being conditions that one cannot go out of, there will be a demand for ACN service. So as long as the strategy are implemented appropriately, there will always be constant source of demand. In fact, this will be of no surprise with an increase in the demand. This will hopefully be because of the increasing awareness and acceptance of the autism community, and hence ultimately encourage more and more autistic individuals to seek help. The final pass of 6 pebbles to allow the user to identify whether the recommended strategy will allow ACN to lead the trend and shape it for the foreseeable future in the industry. With VR technology, ACN should be able to do just that. Not only is it an innovative idea to conduct their service, but also one that would only improve as a technology continues to advance. So allowing ACN to gain an advantage over their competitor once VR became a trend with the industry.
In order to execute both ideas effectively, appropriate funds must be allocated. Therefore, we have generated a marketing budget. So despite being allocated $1 million for the budget, we have only felt that we've needed 15% of the budget to effectively implement the Careers Night and VR idea. For the VR idea, it will cost approximately $80,000 to execute, with funds being allocated towards purchasing 40 VR headsets, getting subscriptions, and then creating the app. The Careers Night will utilise its connection with local RSL clubs to use function rooms at no cost. Funds will also be spent on hiring contractors to carry out social media marketing campaigns and as well as email marketing. The creation of flyers will also come at a cost, although very minimal. Food and drink for the event is also where a portion of the fund is going to come from, and it's predicted to cost around $10,000. So altogether, our budget comes in at $151,700. For the future objectives, it is important for the ACN to set measurable targets and goals. By setting these targets and goals, the ACN can then look back at their findings after the initial 12-month period to make sure that recommendations are generating the right outcomes. For the Careers Night, the ACN should be collecting data on how many participants they have each night, and then matching this up with how many participants have gained employment. Similar strategies will be used in relation to the talent pool mechanism by measuring the rate at which resumes are added to the rate at which resumes are taken down due to the applicant getting a job. If the ACN has not met its goals, such as increased membership, additional funding, and overall competitive advantage, they may need to look at restructuring the idea or carrying it out differently. If they can't find that the idea works for them, they may need to reevaluate their business plan and potentially remove it. In terms of the virtual reality recommendation, the ACN app will have the ability to be rated by users on the App Store. So the main goal of this would be to keep the average rating at 4 out of 5 stars so individuals are more likely to download when viewing it. The ACN can also keep track of user trends when it comes to the app by monitoring how often it is used and for how long. This will assist in reevaluating its effectiveness and whether the idea fits within the business plan.